Hello students, welcome to lesson number 11, The Proposal, written by Anton Chekhov. Now, the proposal, originally titled A Marriage Proposal, is a one-act play, a farce by the Russian short story writer and dramatist Anton Chekhov. It was written in the year 1888-89, and this play is about the tendency of very rich, wealthy families to seek ties with other wealthy families to increase their estates by encouraging marriages that make good economic sense. So now, before we can read the lesson, let us learn something more about the author Anton Chekhov. Anton Pavlovich Chekhov was a Russian playwright and short story writer who is considered to be among the greatest writers of short fiction in history. His career as a playwright produced 4 classics, and his best short stories are held in very high esteem by writers and critics. And the name of his short stories are Gooseberries, The Chameleon, The Lady with the Dog, Fat and Thin, The Bet, and many more. Now let us have a look at, let's read the lesson and continue with the explanation. Now, before we read, the word proposal has several meanings. Can you guess what sort of a proposal the play is about? Well, the word proposal means a suggestion, a plan, a scheme for doing something. It could also be an offer for a possible plan of action. And then it could also be the act of asking somebody's hand in marriage. Now, a Russian wedding. Do you know anything about a Russian marriage ceremony? Read this article about a Russian wedding. Preparations for a Russian wedding. A Russian wedding is very simple. The planning only includes arranging for a ring, bride's dress, then cars and a reception. Earlier, the bride's family paid for the reception, but nowadays brides and groom's families usually share expenses. A Russian wedding and the occasion becomes something to remember for years. The necessary part of the wedding ceremony is a wedding procession of several cars. The best friends of the groom and bride meet before the wedding a few times. They make posters, they write speeches, and they organize contests. When the groom arrives to fetch the bride for the registration, he has to fight to get her. Russians usually live in apartments in tall buildings, and the groom has to climb several stairs to reach his bride. But at each landing, he must answer a question to be allowed to go up. And the bride's friends ask difficult questions, sometimes about the bride, sometimes just difficult riddles that he has to answer with the help of his friends. For example, he may be shown a few photos of baby girls, and he must say which one his bride is. If he guesses wrong, he must pay cash to move ahead. After the marriage registration, the newly married couple leave the guest for the tour of the city sites. After 2 or 3 hours of the city tour, the couple arrive at the reception. The couple sits at a specially arranged table with their family, friends, and invited guests. The reception starts with toasts to the couple. A wedding toast is a custom where a close friend or relative of the groom or the bride says a few words to wish the couple. Then everyone raises their glass of wine and drinks it at the same moment. The groom is then asked to kiss the bride. After a few toasts, the people start eating and drinking and generally have a lot of fun. After some time, the bride gets stolen. She disappears. And when the groom starts looking for her, he is asked to pay a fee. Usually, it is his friends who steal the bride. Then there are the bride's friends. They steal the bride's shoe. The groom must pay money for the shoe too. The guests also enjoy watching these tussles and they continue partying. Now, as you know, this sounds very similar to what we have in India. Where, before the marriage and after the marriage takes place, there are lots of ceremonies, and the bride and the groom, all the friends have a lot of fun in getting some money and making the groom go through different puzzles and so on. So the same happens in a Russian wedding. Now, do you think Indian and Russian weddings have any customs in common? Yes, of course, as you all know, there are so many customs where the friends, the family members, the relatives all try and get some money out of the groom. Then they hide shoes or slippers. You've seen this in many movies and experienced it, like, at relatives' weddings yourselves. So you will write about what customs are similar to Indian ones and the customs which are different from, like the ones that are hiding the shoe or asking, like, puzzles or asking riddles. All these are similar to Indian ones. But what is unfamiliar, what is different is the raising of the toast, then having wine. All that is very different from Indian weddings. Now, let us go on to the actual lesson. The proposal, okay, so now the main characters in this play, Stefan Stefanovich Chubukov is a landowner and Natalia Stepanovna is his daughter who is 25 years old. Ivan Vasilovich Lomov is a neighbor of Chubukov, a large and hearty but very suspicious landowner, and a drawing room in Chubukov's house. Lomov enters wearing a dress jacket and white gloves. Chubukov rises to meet him. Chubukov, my dear fellow, whom do I see? Ivan Vasilovich. I am extremely glad. Squeezes his hand. Now, this is a surprise, my darling. How are you? Lomov says, thank you. And how may you be getting on? Chubukov says, we just get along somehow, my angel. Thanks to your prayers and so on. Sit down, please do. Now you know. You shouldn't forget all about your neighbors, my darling. My dear fellow, why are you so formal in your get-up? Evening dress, gloves and so on. Can you be going anywhere, my treasure? Lomov says, no, I've come only to see you, honored Saint Stepanovich. Chubukov replies, then why are you in evening dress, my precious? As if you're paying a New Year's Eve visit. Lomov says, well, you see, it's like this. Takes his arm. I've come to you, honored Stefan Stefanovich, to trouble you with a request. Not once or twice have I already had the privilege of applying to you for help, and you have always, so to speak, I must ask your pardon. I am getting excited. I shall drink some water, honored Stefan Stefanovich. And he drinks some water. Chubukov says, he's come to borrow money. Shan't give him any. Aloud, what is it, my beauty? Lomov says, you see, honored Stepanich, I beg pardons, Stefan Honorich. I mean, I'm awfully excited, as you will please notice. In short, you alone can help me, though I don't deserve it, of course, and haven't any right to count on your assistance. Oh, don't go round and round, darling. Spit it out. Well, one moment. This very minute. The fact is, I've come to ask the hand of your daughter, Natalia Stepanovna, in marriage. So, by Jove, Ivan Vasilovich, say it again. I didn't hear it at all. Now, children, I will read through the whole lesson and then I will explain the whole lesson, okay? Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to understand. Lomov says, I have the honor to ask. Chubukov, my dear fellow, I am so glad, and so on. Yes, indeed, and all that sort of thing. Embraces and kisses Lomov. I've been hoping for it for a long time. It's been my continual desire. Sheds a tear. And I've always loved you, my angel, as if you were my own son. May God give you both His help and His love, and so on. And so much hope. What am I behaving in this idiotic way for? I'm off my balance with joy. Absolutely off my balance. Oh, with all my soul. I'll go and call Natasha and all that. Lomov, greatly moved. Honored Stefan Stepanovich, do you think I may count as her consort, as I may count on her consent? Chubukov, why, of course, my darling, and as if she won't consent. She's in love. Egad, she's like a lovesick cat and so on. Shan't be long. Exit. Lomov. It's cold. I'm trembling all over. Just as if I'd got an examination before me. The great thing is, I must have my mind made up. If I give myself time to think, to hesitate, to talk a lot, to look for an ideal or for real love, then I'll never get married. It's cold. Natalia? Natalia Stepanovna is an excellent housekeeper. Not bad looking, well educated. What more do I want? But I'm getting a noise in my ears from excitement. So he drinks, and it's impossible for me not to marry. In the first place, I'm already 35, a critical age, so to speak. In the second place, I ought to lead a quiet and regular life. I suffer from palpitations. I'm excitable and always getting awfully upset. At this very moment, my lips are trembling and there's a twitch in my right eyebrow. But the very worst of all is the way that I sleep. I no sooner get into the bed and began to go off when suddenly something in my left side gives a pull and I can feel it in my shoulder and head. I jump up like a lunatic, walk about a bit and lie down again. But as soon as I begin to get off to sleep, there's another pull and this may happen 20 times. Natalia Stepanovna comes in. Okay, so children, we'll stop over here and listen to the explanation. Now, Stefan Chubukov was sitting in the drawing room of his house when his neighbor Ivan Lomov enters. Now, Chubukov welcomes him and Ivan was dressed in an evening dress, that means in very formal attire with gloves on. And he told Chubukov that he had come with one request. Chubukov thought that he had come to borrow some money and he mentally decided not to give him any money. Lomov was very excited and unable to tell him the reason for coming there at once. So he drank some water and when Chubukov told him to asked him for the reason why he had come to his house, he said that he had come to ask for the hand of his daughter Natalia Stepanovna in marriage. Now Chubukov became very happy and excited and he told Ivan Lomov that he had always loved him as a son. He told him that he would go and call Natalia. Ivan asked if she would agree and her father said that she would. She was in love with him. Lomov was trembling with a cold. He told Chubukov that Natalia was an excellent housekeeper, not bad looking, well educated, so he felt he couldn't have asked for anything more. Besides, he reasoned in his mind that he was already 35 years old and he needed to lead a quiet, regular life as he suffered from very, fast heartbeats which are known as palpitations. So, here let's continue reading. Natalia, well, there, it's you, and Papa said, go, there's a merchant come for his goods. How do you do, Ivan Vasilovich? Lomov replies, how do you do, Honored Natalia Stepanovna? Natalia, you must excuse my apron and negligee. We're shelling peas for drying. Why haven't you been here for such a long time? Sit down. They seat themselves. Won't you have some lunch? No, thank you. I've already had some. To which Natalia replies, then smoke. Here are the matches. The weather is splendid now, but yesterday it was so wet that the workmen didn't do anything all day. How much hay have you stacked? Just think. I felt greedy and had a whole field cut and now I'm not at all pleased about it because I'm afraid my hay may rot. I ought to have waited a bit. But what's this? Why are you in evening dress? Well, I never. Are you going to a ball or what? Though I must say you look better. Tell me, why are you got up like that? Lomov, very excitedly. You see, Honored Natalia Stepanovna, the fact is, I've made up my mind to ask you to hear me out. Of course, you'll be surprised and perhaps even angry. But it's awfully cold, Natalia. What's the matter? Well, Lomov replies, I shall try to be brief. You know, Honored Natalia Stepanovna, that I have long since my childhood, in fact, had the privilege of knowing your family. My late aunt and her husband, from whom, as you know, I inherited my land, always had the greatest respect for your father and your late mother. The Lomovs and the Chubukovs have always had the most friendly and I might almost say the most affectionate regard for each other. And as you know, my land is a near neighbor of yours. You will remember that my oxen meadows touch your birch woods. Excuse my interrupting you, Natalia says. You say my oxen meadows, but are they yours? Lomov says, yes, mine. Natalia asks, what are you talking about? Oxen meadows are ours, not yours. Lomov, no, mine. Honored Natalia Stepanovna. Natalia, well, I never knew that before. How do you make that out? Lomov says, how? I am speaking of those oxen meadows which are wedged in between your birchwoods and the burnt marsh. Natalia, yes, they are ours. Lomov says, no, you're mistaken, honored Natalia Stepanovna. They're mine. Natalia, just think, Ivan Vasilovich, how long have they been yours? Lomov says, how long? As long as I can remember. Natalia replies, really, you won't get me to believe that. Lomov says, but you can see from the documents, honored Natalia Stepanovna, oxen meadows, it's true, were once the subject of dispute. But now everybody knows that they are mine. There's nothing to argue about. You see, my aunt's grandmother gave the free use of these meadows in perpetuity to the peasants of your father's grandfather in return for which they were to make bricks for her. The peasants belonging to your father's grandfather had the free use of the meadows for 40 years and had got into the habit of regarding them as their own when it happened that. So Natalia replies, no, it isn't at all like that. Both grandfather and great-grandfather reckoned that their land extended to burnt marsh, which means that oxen meadows were ours. I don't see what there is to argue about. It's simply silly. Okay, children, let us listen to the explanation. Now, so Chubukov called his daughter Natalia and told her that a merchant had come for his goods. So she never expected Lomov to have visited them. She excused her house clothes and requested him to sit and invited him to have lunch. She started conversing to him about hay made by her workers and then asked him if he was going to a ball. Now a ball is like a party where they have, it's a very formal occasion where they wear formal clothes and have a dance. It's like a very formal party. As he was dressed like that, Lomov was not able to tell quickly the reason why he had come there to her house. And then he went on to tell her that he had known her family since his childhood. He also told her that he had inherited their neighboring land from his aunt and her husband, who had the greatest respect for her father and her late mother. Late means her mother was no longer alive. He reminded her that his oxen meadows, the name of his property, touched her birch woods. Birch woods also is the name of her property that she owned. At this, Natalia and Lomov started arguing about the ownership of oxen meadows. Lomov argued that his aunt's grandmother had given those meadows. Meadows are like fields where you have a lot of grass growing. So had given those meadows to Chubukov's grandfather's peasants to use for free in return of the bricks that they made. So he said that 40 years had passed and they started regarding that land as their own. So Natalia was very angry and she said that they had had the land for nearly 300 years. And Lomov said that he would show the documents of his ownership of the land. Then let us continue reading further. I'll show you the documents, Natalia Stepanovna. Natalia replies, no, you're simply joking or making fun of me. What a surprise. We've had the land for nearly 300 years and then we are suddenly told that it isn't ours. Ivan Vasilovich, I can hardly believe my own ears. These meadows aren't worth much to me. They only come to 5 desyatins and are worth perhaps 300 rubles. But I can't stand unfairness. Say what you will, I can't stand unfairness. Lomov replies, hear me out, I implore you. That means I beg of you. The peasants of your father's grandfather, as I have already had the honor of explaining to you, used to bake bricks for my aunt's grandmother. Now, my aunt's grandmother, wishing to make them a pleasant, Natalia very angrily, I can't make head or tail of all this about aunts and grandfathers and grandmothers. The meadows are ours, that's all. Lomov said, mine. Natalia replies, ours. You can go on proving it for 2 days on end. You can go on put on 15 dress jackets. But I tell you they're ours. Ours, ours. I don't want anything of yours. And I don't want to give anything of mine. So there. Lomov replies, Natalia Stepanovna, I don't want the meadows, but I'm acting on principle. If you like, I'll make you a present of them. I can make you a present of them myself, because they are mine. Your behavior, Ivan Vasilovich, is strange to say the least. Up to this, we have always thought of you as a good neighbor, a friend. Last year, we lent you our threshing machine, although on that account, we've had to put off our own threshing till November. But you behaved to us as if we were gypsies. Giving me my own land, indeed? No, really, that's not at all neighborly. In my opinion, it's even impudent, if you want to know. Then you make out that I'm a land grabber, Lomov asks Natalia. Madam, never in my life have I grabbed anybody else's land, and I shan't allow anybody to accuse me of having done so. Quickly steps to the carafe and drinks more water. Oxen meadows are mine. Natalia says, it's not true, they're ours. Lomov says, mine. So let's continue looking at the explanation. Natalia angrily said that they had the land for nearly 300 years. And Lomov says that he would show the documents of his ownership of the land. Then Natalia remarks that those meadows were worth perhaps only 300 rubles. That means not a very big sum of money. But she would not tolerate unfairness. Lomov said that the peasants of Natalia's father's grandfather had baked bricks for his aunt's grandmother. They had a very heated argument about the ownership, and Chubukov came back and he took Natalia's side. Lomov called Chubukov a land grabber and threatened to take him to court. Chubukov told Lomov, okay, so let's continue reading. Here we can see both of them, Lomov and Natalia. They're arguing in their drawing room. Natalia says, it's not true, I'll prove it. I'll send my mowers out to the meadows this very day. Lomov, what? Natalia says, my mowers will be there this very day. Lomov says, I'll give it to them in the neck. That means he would give them a beating. Natalia says, you dare do that? Lomov says, clutches at his heart, oxen meadows are mine. You understand, mine. Natalia says, please don't shout. You can shout yourself hoarse in your own house. But here I must ask you to restrain yourself. Lomov said, if it wasn't, madam, for this awful excruciating palpitation, if my whole inside wasn't upset, I'd talk to you in a different way. He starts shouting, oxen meadows are mine. Natalia says, ours. Lomov says, mine. Natalia says, ours. And Lomov says, mine. Enters Chubukov, her father. Chubukov, what's the matter? What are you shouting for? Natalia, Papa, please tell this gentleman who owns oxen meadows, we or he. Chubukov to Lomov, darling, the meadows are ours. Lomov, but please, Stefan Stepanovich, how can they be yours? Do be a reasonable man. My aunt's grandmother gave the meadows for the temporary and free use of your grandfather's peasants. The peasants used the land for 40 years and got accustomed to it as if it was their own. When it happened that, Chubukov says, excuse me, my precious, you forget just this, that the peasants didn't pay your grandmother and all that, because the meadows were in dispute and so on. And now, everybody knows that they're ours. I mean that you haven't seen the plan. Lomov says, I'll prove it to you that they're mine. Chubukov says, you won't prove it, my darling. Lomov says, I shall. Chubukov replies, dear one, why yell like that? You won't prove anything just by yelling. I don't want anything of yours and don't intend to give up what I have. Why should I? And you know, my beloved, that if you propose to go on arguing about it, I'd much sooner give up the meadows to the peasants than to you. There. Lomov says, I don't understand. How have you got the right to give away somebody else's property? Chubukov says, you may take it that I know whether I have the right or not. Because, young man, I'm not used to being spoken to in that tone of voice, and so on. I, young man, am twice your age, and ask you to speak to me without agitating yourself and all that. Lomov says, no, you just think I'm a fool and want to have me on. You call my land yours, and then you want me to talk to you calmly and politely? Good neighbors don't behave like that. Stefan Stepanovich, you are not a neighbor, you're a grabber. Chubukov says, what's that? What did you say? Natalia replies, Papa, send the mowers out to the meadows at once. Chubukov says, what did you say, sir? Natalia said, Oxen Meadows are ours, and I shan't give them up, shan't give them up, shan't give them up. Lomov says, we'll see, I'll have the matter taken to court, and then I'll show you. Chubukov says, to court? You can take it to court and all that, you can. I know, you're just on the look out for a chance to go to court and all that. You petty fogger. All your people were like that, all of them. Lomov replies, never mind about my people. The Lomovs have all been honorable people, and not one of them has ever been tried for embezzlement like your grandfather. Chubukov says, you Lomovs have had lunacy in your family. That means they were all mad, all of you. Natalia says, all. Chubukov says, your grandfather was a drunkard, and your younger aunt, Natasya Mihailovna, ran away with an architect, and so on. And Lomov, and your mother was humpbacked. Clutches at his heart. Something's pulling at my side, my head. Help, water. Chubukov says, your father was a guzzling gambler. And Natalia says, and there haven't been many backbiters to equal your aunt. Chubukov says, my left foot has gone to sleep. You're an intriguer, oh my heart. And it's an open secret that before the last elections, I can see the stars. Where's my hat? Natalia says, it's low, it's dishonest, it's mean. Chubukov says, and you're just a malicious, double-faced intriguer. Yes, here's my hat, my heart. Which way? Where's the door? Oh, I think I'm dying. My foot's quite numb. He goes to the door. Chubukov, following him, says, and don't set foot in my house again. Natalia said, take it to court, we'll see. And Lomov staggers out. Chubukov says, devil take him. Walks about in excitement. Natalia says, what a rascal. What trust can one have in one's neighbors after that? Chubukov says, the villain, the scarecrow. Natalia says, the monster. First he takes our land, then he has the impudence to abuse us. Chubukov says, and that blind hen, yes, that turnip ghost has the confounded cheek to make a proposal. And so on. What? A proposal? Natalia said, what proposal? Why? He came here to propose to you. Natalia, in a very shocked state, to propose to me? Why didn't you tell me so before? So he dresses up in his evening clothes, the stuffed sausage, the wizen-faced frump. Natalia, to propose to me? Ah! She falls into an easy chair and wails, bring him back. Ah, bring him back here. Chubukov, bring whom here? Natalia says, quick, I'm ill, fetch him. And she starts getting hysterical. Chubukov says, what's that? What's the matter with you? Clutches at his head. Oh, unhappy man that I am, I'll shoot myself. I'll hang myself. We've done for her. Natalia says, I'm dying, fetch him. Chubukov says, shh. At once, don't yell. He runs out and there's a pause. Natalia Stepanovna starts crying loudly. What have they done to me? Fetch him back, fetch him. A pause and Chubukov runs in. Chubukov says, he's coming, and so on. Devil take him out. Out, talk to him yourself. I don't want to. Natalia says, fetch him. Chubukov says, he's coming, I tell you. Oh, what a burden, Lord, to be the father of a grown-up daughter. I'll cut my throat, I will indeed. We've cursed him, abused him and drove him out. And it's all you. Natalia says, oh, it was you. Chubukov says, I tell you it's not my fault. Lomov appears at the door. Now you talk to him yourself. Lomov enters exhausted. My heart's palpitating awfully. My foot's gone to sleep. There's something that keeps pulling in my side. Natalia says, forgive us, Ivan Vassilevich. We were all a little heated. I remember now. Oxen Meadows really are yours. Lomov said, my heart's beating awfully. My meadows, my eyebrows are twitching. Then Natalia says, the meadows are yours, yes, yours. Do sit down. They sit, we were wrong. Lomov said, I did it on principle. My land is worth little to me, but the principle. Natalia says, yes, the principle, just so. Now, let us talk of something else. Lomov says, the more so as I have evidence, my aunt's grandmother gave the land to your father's grandfather's peasants. Natalia says, yes, 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 let that pass. I wish I knew how to get him started. Are you going to start shooting soon? Lomov says, I'm thinking of having a go at the black cock, honored Natalia Stepanovna, after the harvest. Oh, have you heard? Just think what a misfortune I've had. My dog, guess who you know has gone lame. Natalia says, what a pity, why? Lomov says, I don't know. Must have got his leg twisted or bitten by some other dog. My very best dog, to say nothing to of the expense. I gave Mironov 125 rubles for him. So children, let's listen to the explanation. So, Natalia angrily said that they had the land for nearly 300 years. Lomov said that he would show the documents of his ownership of the land. Then Natalia said that those meadows were worth perhaps only 300 rubles. She would not tolerate unfairness. Lomov called Chubukov a land grabber and threatened to take him to court. Chubukov told Lomov that they had lunacy, that means there were mad people in his family, and his grandmother was a drunkard, and his younger aunt Nastasia Mikhailovna had run away with an architect. Lomov told Natalia that her mother was humpbacked, and Chubukov argued that Lomov's father was a guzzling gambler. That means he was used to drinking and gambling, and Natalia added there hadn't been many backbiters to equal his aunt. Both the parties called each other's intriguers, that means cheats, and Chubukov ordered Lomov to leave his house at once. After Lomov leaves, Chubukov told Natalia that he had come there to propose to her and ask for a hand in marriage. At this, she started crying and told her father to bring him back. She never knew that he had come there to propose to her. Lomov came and Natalia apologizes to him, saying that the meadows were his. After that, Lomov started to talk about his dog and told her that he had bought him for 125 rubles from Mironov, but he had gone lame. So let's resume reading the lesson. Natalia says, it was too much, Ivan Vasilovich. Lomov says, I think it was very cheap. He's a first-rate dog. Natalia says, Papa gave 85 rubles for his Squeezer, and that is the name of his dog. And Squeezer is heaps better than Guess. Lomov says, Squeezer better than Guess? What an idea. He laughs. Squeezer better than Guess. Natalia says, of course he's better. Of course, Squeezer is young. He may develop a bit, but on points and pedigree, he's better. That means his breed is much better than anything that even Volchansky had got. Lomov says, excuse me, Natalia Stepanovna, but you forget that he is overshot, and an overshot always means the dog is a bad hunter. Then, overshot, is he? The first time I hear it. Lomov says, I assure you that his lower jaw is shorter than the upper. Natalia asks him, have you measured? Lomov says, yes, he's all right at following, of course, but if you want to get hold of anything, Natalia replies, in the first place, our Squeezer is a thoroughbred animal. That means he's of a pure breed, the son of harness and chisels, while there's no getting at the pedigree of your dog at all. He's old and as ugly as a worn-out cab horse. Lomov says, he is old, but I wouldn't take 5 Squeezers for him. Why? How can you guess is a dog? As for Squeezer, well, it's too funny to argue. Anybody you like has a dog as good as Squeezer. You may find them under every bush almost. 25 rubles would be a handsome price to pay for him. Natalia says, there's some demon of contradiction in you today, Ivan Vasilovich. First you pretend that the meadows are yours, now that Guess is better than Squeezer. I don't like people who don't say what they mean, because you know perfectly well that Squeezer is 100 times better than your silly Guess. Why do you want to say he isn't? I see, Natalia Stepanovna, that you consider me either blind or a fool. you must realize that Squeezer is overshot. Natalia says, it is not true. Lomov replies, he is. Natalia says, it's not true. Lomov asks, why shout, madam? Natalia asks, why talk rot? Why talk rubbish? It's awful. It's time your guess was shot. And you compare him with Squeezer? Lomov replies, excuse me, I cannot continue this discussion. My heart is palpitating. Natalia says, I've noticed that those hunters argue most who know least. Lomov says, madam, please be silent. My heart is going to pieces. Shut up. Natalia, I shan't shut up until you acknowledge that Squeezer is 100 times better than your guess. 100 times worse. Be hanged to your Squeezer. His head, eyes, shoulder. Natalia says, there's no need to hang your silly guess. He's half dead already. So Lomov starts crying. Shut up, my heart's bursting. Natalia says, I shan't shut up. Enters Chubukov. Chubukov asks, what's the matter now? Natalia says, Papa, tell us truly, which is better? Which is the better dog? Our Squeezer or his guess? Our Squeezer or his guess? To which Lomov replies, Stefan Stepanovich, I implore you to tell me just one thing. Is your Squeezer overshot or not? Yes or not? Yes or no? Chubukov says, and suppose he is, what does it matter? He's the best dog in the district for all that and so on. Lomov says, but isn't my guess better really now? Chubukov says, don't excite yourself, my precious one. Allow me. Your guess certainly has his good points. He's purebred, firm on his feet, has well sprung ribs and all that. But my dear man, if you want to know the truth, that dog has two defects. He's old, he's short in the muzzle. Lomov says, excuse me, my heart. Let's take the facts. You will remember that on the Marusinski's hunt, my guess ran neck and neck with the Count's dog, while your Squeezer was left a whole worst behind. Chubukov says, he got left behind because the Count's whipper and hit him with his whip. And with good reason, the dogs are running after a fox when Squeezer goes and starts worrying a sheep. Chubukov says, it's not true, my dear fellow. I'm very liable to lose my temper. And so, just because of that, let's stop arguing. You started because everybody is always jealous of everybody else's dogs. Yes, we're all like that. You too, sir, aren't blameless. You no sooner begin with this and that and the other and all that, I remember everything. Now let's continue with the explanation. Natalia argued that their dog Squeezer was a thoroughbred, that means a pure breed, and he was the son of harness and chisels, while his dog was old and ugly as a worn-out cab horse. Lomov got very angry and he said he wouldn't take 5 Squeezers for his dog guess. He said that Squeezer was worth only 25 rubles, as he was overshot and had a shorter lower jaw, which meant he was a bad hunter. They argued and Lomov complained of palpitations in his heart. Now, Chubukov came back and asked him to confirm if his dog Squeezer was overshot or not. Natalia asked her father to confirm which was the better dog, Guess or Squeezer. Chubukov asked Lomov that his dog Guess certainly had his good points. He was purebred, he was firm on his feet, he had well-sprung ribs, but he also had 2 defects. He was old and he was short in the muzzle. Lomov argued that he remembered that on the Marusinski's hunt, his Guess ran neck and neck with the Count's dog, while their Squeezer was left a whole worst. That is, worst is a Russian measure of length about 1.1 kilometers. He was 1.1 kilometers behind. So Chubukov took up for dog Squeezer and said that the Count's whipper had hit him with his whip and that was the reason for him to lag behind. Lomov said he was whipped because all the other dogs were running after a fox while Squeezer went after a sheep. So now and then Chubukov got angry and told Lomov that everybody was always jealous of everybody else's dog and he too wasn't blameless. Natalia also got angry when he started screaming about his heart. So let us continue reading. Yes, I remember too, Chubukov says. Teasing him, I remember too. What do you remember? Lomov says, my heart. My foot's gone to sleep. I can't. Natalia teasing, my heart. What sort of a hunter are you? You ought to go and lie on the kitchen oven and catch black beetles, not go after foxes, my heart. Chubukov says, yes, really, what sort of a hunter are you anyway? You ought to sit at home with your palpitations and not go tracking animals. You could go hunting, but you only go to argue with people and interfere with their dogs and so on. Let's change the subject in case I lose my temper. You are not a hunter at all anyway. Lomov says, and are you a hunter? You only go hunting to get in with the count and to intrigue. Oh, my heart, you're an intriguer. Chubukov says, what? I am an intriguer? Shut up. Lomov says, intriguer? Chubukov says, boy, pup. Lomov says, old rat, Jesuit. And Chubukov says, shut up or I'll shoot you like a partridge, you fool. Lomov says, everybody knows that, oh my heart, your late wife used to beat you. Your feet, my feet, temple sparks. I fall. Chubukov, and you're under the slipper of your housekeeper. Lomov says, there's my heart burst. My shoulders come off. Where is my shoulder? I die. He falls into an armchair. A doctor. Chubukov says, boy, milk salt. Fool, I'm sick. Drinks water, sick. Natalia says, what sort of a hunter are you? You can't even sit on a horse. To her father, Papa, what's the matter with him? Papa, look, Papa. Ivan Vasilovich, he's dead. Chubukov says, I'm sick. I can't breathe. Air. Natalia says, he's dead. Pulls Lomov's sleeves. Ivan Vasilovich, what have you done to me? He's dead. Then falls into an armchair. A doctor. And she's hysterical. Chubukov says, oh, what is it? What's the matter? Natalia says, he's dead. Chubukov, who's dead? Looks at Lomov. So he is, my word, water, a doctor. Lifts a tumbler to Lomov's mouth. Drink this. No, he doesn't drink. It means he's dead and all that. I am the most unhappy of men. Why don't I put a bullet into my brain? Why haven't I cut my throat yet? What am I waiting for? Give me a knife, give me a pistol. Lomov moves. He seems to be coming round. Drink some water. That's right. Lomov, I see stars, mist. Where am I? Chubukov says, hurry up and get married. And well, to the devil with you. She's willing. He puts Lomov's hand into his daughter's. She's willing and all that. I give you my blessing and so on. Only leave me in peace. Lomov getting up. What? To whom? Chubukov says, she's willing. Well, kiss and be damned to you. Natalia wails, he's alive. Yes, I'm willing. And Chubukov kiss each other. Lomov, kiss whom? They kiss. Very nice too. Excuse me, what's it all about? Oh, now I understand, my heart. Stars, I'm happy. Natalia Stepanovna kisses her hand. My foot has gone to sleep. Natalia says, I'm happy too. Chubukov says, what a weight off my shoulders. Out. But still, you will admit now that guess is worse than squeezer. Lomov, better. Natalia, worse. Chubukov, well, there's a way to start your family bliss. Have some champagne. Lomov, he's better. Natalia says, worse. Chubukov trying to shout her down. Champagne. And then the curtain closes. So let us look at the last portion of the lesson. Then Natalia got angry when Lomov started screaming about his heart, and she asked him what kind of a hunter he was with heart palpitations and so on. He should sit at home and instead of going hunting and not interfere and argue with people. Chubukov was angry with Lomov and threatened to shoot him. Lomov told Chubukov that his wife used to beat him, and Chubukov told him that he was under the slipper of his housekeeper. Suddenly, Lomov falls into an armchair and asks for some water. Chubukov tells them to get married and puts Lomov's hand into his daughter's hand. She becomes very happy. Chubukov feels that a burden has been lifted off his shoulders. He blesses both of them, and thus they start their new life, still arguing and still each one not giving in to the other and trying to hold his own in the argument. So now children, let us look at the question answers of the play. What does Chubukov at first suspect that Lomov has come for? Is he sincere when the latter says and I've always loved you, my angel, as if you were my own son. Find reasons for your answer from the play. So, in this first question, in the story The Proposal, Lomov is a landowner. He comes to meet his neighbor Chubukov, and he told him that he had come to trouble him with a request. Chubukov suspected he had come to borrow money. He decided not to give him any. So when Lomov says that he has come to ask the hand of his daughter in marriage, Chubukov calls him an angel and his son. These words were spoken in relief, as his own desire of getting his daughter married to a rich man were about to be fulfilled, and he was very insincere. Then, the second question, Chubukov says of Natalia, as if she won't consent. She's in love. She's like a lovesick cat. Would you agree? Find reasons for your answer. Chubukov believed that Lomov was a good match for his daughter as he had a lot of property. Lomov was a little hesitant, though Chubukov had accepted his proposal because he had not received the consent of Natalia. When he asked her father if she would agree, Chubukov spoke for his daughter, saying he should not doubt about her consent, as she was in love like a lovesick cat. From the play, it seemed that Natalia was attracted to Lomov more so because of his property and closeness to her own family. She argues with him, but still she is ready to marry him. Find all the words and expressions in the play about the characters used to speak about each other and the accusations and insults they hurl. Again, Lomov begins by describing Natalia as an excellent housekeeper, not bad looking, well educated, etc. Well, the words used for the following characters are: Chubukov is a grabber, intriguer. Natalia is a lovesick cat, excellent housekeeper, not bad looking, and well educated. Lomov is a darling beauty, angel, son, precious, beloved, pettifogger, good neighbor, friend, intriguer, malicious, double-faced, intriguer, rascal, a villain, scarecrow, monster, turnip ghost, stuffed sausage, wizen-faced frump, dear fellow, boy, milksop, fool. So these are all the adjectives. And think of 5 adjectives or adjectival expressions to describe the character of the play. Each character. Well, Chubukov was cunning, money-minded, double-faced, taunting, mocking, insulting. Natalia was very proud, good manager, very stern, immature, friendly, and hospitable. Lomov can be called as sickly, argumentative, no conversational skills, and very money-minded. Then, can you imagine what these characters will quarrel about next? Well, next they could quarrel about Oxen Meadows and the dogs again, as they still have not resolved that matter totally. Now thinking about language. This play has been translated into English from the Russian original. Are there any expressions of speaking that strike you as more Russian than English? Well, for example, my darling, my beauty, my precious, my angel, my beloved, used by Chubukov, not for a lady but for Lomov. And that blind hen, yes, that turnip ghost, has the confounded cheek to make a proposal. There's some demon of contradiction in you. Shut up, my heart's bursting. Don't excite yourself, my precious one. You ought to sit at home with your palpitations and not go tracking animals. The scarecrow, the stuffed sausage, the wizen-faced frump, all these insults thrown. Okay, so all these are the words that we normally do not use in English, but they may be used in Russian. Then, look up the words in the dictionary and find out how to pronounce them. Well, first of all, the first word is palpitations. That is, it has 4 syllables. Palpitations. The next one, pedigree. So there are 3 syllables. Pedigree. The next one is malicious. There are 3 syllables again. Malicious. The fourth one is accustomed. Accustomed. 3 syllables. The next one is interfere. There are again 3 syllables. Principle. That is 3 syllables. Then the next one is embezzlement. That is 4 syllables. Embezzlement. The next one, temporary. Temporary is 3 syllables. Implore is 2 syllables. Evidence. Evidence is 3 syllables. Then architect is again 3 syllables. Neighbors, there's 2 syllables. Thoroughbred is 3 syllables. Misfortune, again 3 syllables. Documents is 3 syllables. So, look up the following phrases in a dictionary to find out their meaning. You may take it at that. It means you may take it at that I am lying, but in fact it will help you in the long run. That means you may think like this, but what I am saying is the truth. He seems to be coming round. That means if somebody has been very sorrowful and sad, but now they are coming to terms with their loss. He seems to be coming round after the trauma of his father's death. The next one, my foot's gone to sleep. After the 3-hour long yoga session, my foot's gone to sleep. It means your leg gets cramped. So that's an expression. Now reported speech is indirect speech. I have done this whole chapter. Reported speech has already been done, so kindly look up all those rules that are there. Now to solve this exercise, to report a question we use the reporting verb asked, as in sentence set 1. Then to report a declaration we use the reporting verb declared or stated, and the adverb of place here changes to there. When the verb in direct speech is in the present tense, the verb in the reported speech is in the past tense. If the verb in direct speech is in the present continuous, then the verb in the reported speech changes to past continuous. For example, am getting changes to was getting. When the sentence in direct speech contains a word denoting respect, we add the adverb respectfully in the reporting clause. And the pronouns I, me, our and mine, which are used in the first person, change according to the subject or object with verbs such as he, she, him, her, their or his or hers. Now here's an excerpt from an article from the Times of India dated 27th August 2006. Rewrite changing the sentences in direct speech into reported speech. So leave all the other sentences unchanged. So children, you attempt this exercise on your own. Then speaking and writing. Anger management. As adults, I would like you to do this exercise in your fair book. Anger management. As adults, one important thing to learn is how to manage our temper. Some of us tend to get angry quickly while others remain calm. So can you think of 3 ill effects that will result from anger? Well, children, have you heard of this saying that anger is one letter short of danger? So if from danger you remove D, then you have anger. So it's just one short letter short of danger. So it's very dangerous to get angry. So now note them down and suggest ways to avoid losing your temper in such situations. Are there any benefits from anger? Surely not. So you will think about this, introspect a little, think about it, and then answer this question in pairs. Prepare a script based on the given excerpt from The Home and the World by Rabindranath Tagore, and you may write 5 exchanges between the characters with other directions such as movements on stage and way of speaking. So this is the exercise that you're supposed to do. Just go through it and complete writing that. Then in this lesson, what we have done is given you a play by the famous Russian writer Anton Chekhov. What you can do is dictate the biographical information given below. Students should then guess the name of the playwright. He was born at Stratford-on-Avon. His father was an important public figure. People believe that he received a decent grammar school education in literature, logic and Latin. Mathematics and natural science did not form part of the curriculum. When he was 18, he married Anne Hathaway, who was 8 years his senior. He seemed to have prospered in the London theatre world. He probably began his career as an actor in London, and he earned enough as an author to acquire landed property. That means property that belonged to the lords and ladies. When he was 47, he retired to a large house in Stratford. He died in 1616, leaving behind a body of work that still stands as a pinnacle in world literature. Then this is no one other than William Shakespeare. You've heard of him, right? William Shakespeare's plays are famous all over the word. So children, you can read up on William Shakespeare. And the last is homophones. Can you find the words below that are spelled similarly but sometimes even pronounced similarly but have very different meanings? Check their pronunciation and meaning in a dictionary. They were too close to the door to close it. Too close means somebody you're standing close, and to close it is open and close. Since there is no time like the present, she thought it was time to present the present. So there's no time like the present is present, past and future. With respect to time, she thought it was time to present is a verb. In the first one it's a noun. In the second one it's a verb. That is to present the present. The third one is a gift. Okay, so children, I hope you have understood this lesson well. Thank you and have a nice day.